we're going to get ready to hear some awesome testimonies from the field. So take it away, Zeke.
To be here this morning. I'm so excited to be here with you. We do have a very special morning ahead of us. We're going to catch you guys up to speed on just kind of how everything went on our mission trip. And we want to start off by just saying a great big thank you to all of you, our church family. Fundraiser after fundraiser, you guys supported us. And it's really because of your help we were able to go. All right. And so thank you so much. Let that preface everything that's going to be shared this morning. This is a little bit of a team report, an analysis of what we experienced, but it's also, how did the Lord challenge us? How did the Lord move in us, in our team, while we were overseas? And so I'm excited to share with you guys this morning, all right? A little bit before we get started, my name is Zeke McPherson. If you haven't met me, I'm glad to meet you. I am the youth pastor here, along with my wife, my beautiful wife, Samantha, who I think might have stepped out. We had she's right here. So everybody say hi. Yes, we help with the students here, and we love what we do. Last year in June, I reconnected with an old missionary friend in Peru, and we decided that we would like to bring a group of students down to Peru to minister in his country. Now, this man was born and raised in Peru. He and his brother actually grew up in a village that was just a poverty-stricken village where there were almost no fathers. This was the place where men came to have kids but not stick around, right? All mothers and babies. And the mothers would have to leave the children alone in the house all day so that they could go break rocks at the quarry to have just enough food to pay, or money to pay for food for their little kids. That's the situation this missionary grew up in. And it was on a short-term mission trip like the one that we took, that a missionary told that little boy, what the small gift I'm giving you today is from your Father in heaven, who sees you and who loves you. And he says it's back to that moment when this strangely big white guy gave him a gift, that he felt God calling him and know that he was seen by God. And that from that, his dad got saved and his family became a family of ministry. And now he does everything he can to give that same experience to children who have nothing all over his home city and his home country. It's a beautiful experience. And you're going to see this morning some of the experiences we were able to have. And as you see pictures of us with these children, just realize that was the goal of Alex. He's the missionary there, is to give us moments to bless each other, to learn from people in Peru, but also to speak a blessing and to give from our spiritual blessing that God has given us by being able to live here and grow up in this place. And so I ask that you guys just settle in and enjoy it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be funny. It's also going to be a little bit challenging as we get into it. So, Alan, do you have a song for us this morning? This is one of the most popular songs, and we heard it on the radio all over Peru, and it is it's a Christian worship song. Let's do it. All right. As they play it, would you guys welcome the first group of presenters as they come this morning? We've got, there we go. Cool. Thank you. Perfect. So this is our team, and over here on this side, this is Alex. Alex is the head missionary there in Peru, and he has a team of people, which you can see kind of interspersed. There's Janina and Chippy and George, who some of you may have seen on the video a couple of weeks ago giving the announcements, which was really funny. George is Alex's brother, but all of these other folks are part of his team, and I think this is so cool. He calls his team in Peru Equipo de Sueños, which means the dream team, right? The dream team. Who are they dreaming for? They're dreaming for Jesus to reach their nation. It's really cool. Really cool that we got to be involved in that. All right, so our first presenters today are Bailey, Madison, and Luke, and Wesley. We are so glad you guys are here. Can you give them one more hand? Very good. So the way that this is going to work is I'm going to sit down and listen some, but basically we have, for you guys, two questions. One question is about what did you not expect about your trip to Peru? Tell us something that maybe was unexpected you experienced. You got there and you're like, whoa, didn't think this was going to be this way. And then the second question will be a little more serious, but we'll get to that. So who wants to go first? Something that you didn't expect as you go to Peru. Is it on? All right, there you go. Let's go, Bailey. You got it.
Something that I did not expect was a random bar of soap to be randomly dropped in my bathroom.
Oh, I don't know if this is working here, Chris. Oh, sorry, Bailey. All right, there we go. Tell them a little bit about what this is.
So that shaft that you see is one of the shafts. Like, there's these random just shafts that are outside the room doors. And I don't know why, I don't know what the purpose is. Beats me. But
In the hallway of the hotel, though.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And some of them go all the way down like that, and some of them you can actually stand, and then it goes up. But, yeah, and then those little, I don't know if you can see, those little holes down there are windows into people's bathrooms. So that's little.
You can't see in the windows.
Yeah,
No.
no.
Let me just be clear.
But it's a little weird. I don't know why they're there.
They're like, then they have like shutters on it, like you would think of as a, what do they call those things that are in the subfloor of houses? Those vents, you know what I'm saying? It looks kind of like those vents, right? But it's in this shaft, and it goes right into your bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us what happened.
So I think it was like our second night there. We had to wake up at like 6 a.m. the next morning. And it was already like midnight, and we were getting ready for bed. We were just getting in bed. And I walk past the bathroom, and I see an arm drop something into the bathroom. I scream, run to Sierra, there's an arm in the bathroom. She's like, what? So we go and look, and then she like puts her phone down there and videos. There's no one there. And I'm like, I'm not crazy. There was an arm dropping something. So we looked out in the hallway, no one.
Ooh.
And we asked some, like, couple people on our team, actually, like,
that's
looking,
a good question.
looking at their arms.
Was it a brown arm or a white arm?
It was white. It was, it was white. That's how I know it
You're
was
pretty
someone on
sure
our
it was
team.
from our team.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess that's better than a person off the street just dropping a bar of
Yeah.
soap in your bathroom.
Yeah.
Still weird.
Yeah.
So did you ever find the culprit?
No.
No one ever owned up to it? Are you serious, guys? None of you would own up to your prank. Okay, we're going to find out this morning, Bailey. I'm going to get somebody to own this. Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
man.
So anything else that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I really didn't expect the people there to be as welcoming as they were. Like, you have no idea. Like, we got there, and they were just so nice. And I was kind of expecting, like, cold shoulders. I don't know. That's weird, but I was expecting that. But they were just so welcoming and tried to make us feel as comfortable as possible. And, yeah.
That's awesome. I appreciate that, and I'm sure you guys are going to hear more about that as the morning goes. So anybody else, what did you not expect during this trip? Go ahead, Wesley, and then we'll jump to Luke. Yeah.
All right, I did not expect the people there to drive like maniacs, okay? All right, so for those of you who don't know me, I fear being in cars. And when we're in places where people drive like there's no tomorrow, I'm kind of like, yeah, it's not fun. But these guys have no traffic laws as it seems. There's no way at all. Like, red lights don't matter. You have people on like little scooters going through all sorts of traffic. And at one point, we even passed this car that was on fire in the middle of the road. Everyone
we
was
should have put a
passing.
picture of that up. That was crazy.
Yeah, I did get a good picture.
It was
of that.
like the freeway in Little Rock, and we're in a bus, and our bus driver, we see this in the distance, a bonfire, in the middle of the interstate, and it was
just on fire. And like when the bus passed it, we felt the heat from it.
Yeah.
And no one gave it any thought. Like, this was just average Tuesday stuff. Like, oh, a car's on fire. Who cares?
we said, what is that? And the missionary goes, that's bad. We're like, yeah, we get that. You know, in the U.S., I feel like we'd slow down and stop, see what's going on, but our bus just goes right around it.
Well, no, like people here, we would have been like taking pictures. These guys were like, oh, well, who cares? They act like this is normal.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
that's my mom's Ford Edge burning in the middle of the freeway.
The funny part about it was I was towards the back of the bus, and Silas was back there with us, and we were talking about something, and all of a sudden, like, Silas is talking, and then he goes, fire, 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 and we all look at him, we're like, what the heck? And then, like, there's a car on fire, and we were like, okay, that's awesome, sweet, got to do it, but yeah.
Well, and as we're going by, one of our team members, I don't remember who it was, but they said, I hope it doesn't explode. Like, you know, I guess that wasn't even a thought. But anyway. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. All right, so Luke, you had to answer. What did you not expect?
Something I didn't really expect kind of goes along with, like, the welcoming factor, but more of, like, just the high school guys, because I know what it's like here. It's kind of hard to fit in sometimes with the high school guys. And so those are the people I was kind of with one night or one school, and so I saw him hanging out on the bleachers, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go talk to him, see what's up. And I didn't know how to say, do you guys play hacky sack in Spanish? You know, so I picked up a rock and I started kicking it with my foot, and they were like, okay, and they were like, soccer, and I was like, you know what? Sure, that's the closest thing to it. So I followed them to like a little back area. Wasn't sketchy, but, you know, it was there. And so we all got in a circle, and they started playing, like, soccer. But it was, like, monkey in the middle, to where if you were in the middle, you had to, like, stop it, and then you would take a person's place. But so a dude, he, like, tries to kick it. He goes to kick it, but he pulls it back. And no joke, like, the dude that was in the middle does, like, a full cartoon, like, fall down and, like, kick his feet up. And I was like, oh, that's funny. But everybody in the group was like, oh, and they all started, like, freaking out and stuff. And I was like, what? This is awesome. And I finally got a hang of it, and I messed up, and I was like, oh, so I'm in the middle now? And they were like, yeah. But it was a good time. It was a fun time. And one of the first schools that we went to, which I didn't get a slide for it, there's this kid, and I was like, you guys play hacky sack? And because I saw him, he was like literally just like kicking a rock up, and I was like, hey, you like play and stuff? And he was like, yeah. And so I grabbed it, and he was like juggling, and it was really cool. But yeah, they were pretty like
it's cool,
welcoming with that.
Some of that stuff just transcends culture. It's like you go there, and it's like, I'm just playing ball with high school guys. Like, just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was that same kind of energy that you would experience here on
Yeah.
a Wednesday night doing that. Madison, you're the only one that hasn't answered. What did you not expect?
So I got mistaken as JoJo Siwa on this trip. And we went to the first church on Sunday morning. It was the first place we went to. And they lined us all up on stage and was like, introduce yourself. So we were saying our names, and I was like, my name is Madison, and they repeated it. And Zeke, there's a running joke that I'm like JoJo Siwa. So he says, this is JoJo Siwa. And I didn't think anything of it because everybody in the United States obviously knows I'm not her. But they did not. And so later at the afternoon, I kind of forgot, and we went up these stairs to eat lunch that they had prepped for us. And these two girls just walk up the stairs, and then they're just standing behind me. Like, here I would think, like, these people are about to kill me, you know, even though they're little. But they just stood there, and they didn't say a word because they can't speak English, and I can't speak Spanish. So I just turned around. I was like, do you need something? Like, and so we got our translator. Kristen got her translator out and, like, handed the phone to him, and they were like, can we get a picture with you? And I was like, oh, like, they walked all the way up here and interrupted my meal just to take a picture with me, you know? And I was, like, flattered. And we get there, and and then after we took the picture, they, like just kept standing there, and they just kept staring at me like this. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And it finally dawned on us that they thought I was JoJo Siwa. And so they went around and they told their friends, I got a picture of JoJo Siwa, you know.
That is amazing.
So.
Well, it was pretty cool. They brought us up on stage and were like, introduce yourself. And she'd say, you know, Madison. And then everyone out there would say, hi, Madison. And they kept doing that back and forth. So after Madison, I said, no. It's JoJo Siwa. And everybody was like, JoJo, you know, it's perfect. Well, then, and I have to tell this on my wife, I got to her, and they're like, what's your name? And she goes, Sam. And so they all go, hi, Sam. Because the language barrier, they're just mimicking exactly what we had said. So it was perfect. Turning it a little more to the experience you had spiritually, and I guess we can start with Madison, how did you see God move while we were there? Was there an experience you had that you?
Whenever you like are going to Peru, all they talk about is poverty. Like, you better be prepared when you go there. You're gonna like see a bunch of poverty, and it's gonna like break your heart. They had all this talk with us, but one thing I didn't expect to feel was I felt really envious of these people because everywhere we went, because we went to all these churches, they had faith that I had like only ever imagined. Like, they had biblical faith, like stuff that you read about in the Bible. I always just read it, and I'm like, that is so cool, but I never, like, sometimes I don't think I could ever get there. And these people, just from Peru, they all were super, like, faithful. One of the guys, we gave a motorcycle to a preacher, and he had told me, which I wish I would have put the picture of him crying up here, but they told me that he had been praying for a motorcycle every day for 9 years, and he got it with us. And I was like, I don't know if I could ever pray every day and have complete faith that I would get a motorcycle, and then he did. And I just felt so envious that they had this, like, relationship with the Lord that I don't have and that I want to have. And so I just didn't expect that.
It was like there was like more dependence on God. You know what I mean? And I agree. I'm envious of that as well. Bailey, how did you see God move?
So I saw God move in the kids specifically at the services. I just saw them getting so into it, and it was genuine, like how into it they were and how they were just hanging on every word. And it was amazing, because even churches that I've been to in America, even adults, don't get that into it, but they were just jumping and praising, and it was like amazing. And also, we went, a bunch of us hiked up one of the mountains. It was like steep. And there was this lady there, and she didn't speak, I don't even know, she didn't speak much English, but she was like, come see my house. And so we all crowded. There was probably about 15 of us. And we crowded into this little house, and it was like, if I'm not mistaken, like wood walls, dirt floor, curtains separating like a room. And she was just so proud of her little house. And she was like, yeah, this is my house. And a little like piano in the corner, like an old piano. And it was like, aw. So it was just nice to see her just content with that,
She was so proud to invite us in and show her space. And this is a picture of us actually entering that little abode. And you can see Bailey. Let's take Luke's answer, and I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to move on to make time. But Luke, you were talking about something that you kind of caught on to.
Yeah. So like the way that I kind of saw God in the mission trip, but this sounds selfish, but he kind of was like just showing me like, look at all these people and look at what you're worshiping. And I get so caught up in like the gifts from God and not the actual giver. And they have such a different faith to where it's like they were worshiping a different God than me. Even though they were worshiping the same one, but they weren't. Like, because they have not that they have no gifts to worship, but they don't have they worship God. Like, I don't know, it's just such a different way that they worship. I worship God for giving me the gifts, but they worship God so then maybe they could actually survive the next day, to where they could actually get a meal for the next day. But it's like I worship the gifts, and then I'm like, oh, God, thank you for this gift. But they worship God, please, we need you to give us something right now. And it's like it just put me in perspective of where's my faith at, and am I having faith in this church that God has given me, the people that God has given me, the pleasures that God has given me, or am I actually worshiping God, So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you and I talked about how American that is to, like when we evangelize, you guys should believe in Jesus. Why? And then we give them answers that are about what Jesus does or what he gives us. Whereas like there, it was more like, why should you believe in Jesus? Well, he's the king. He's the creator. Exactly. It's like it was the emphasis on him and not on what he does or gives us. And it is a difference in perspective.
Because it's like what do you have to lose there? But it's like, I mean, what do you have to lose here? It's like we're all in the same boat. Like there is no sinning with pleasure. There is just like, I mean, there is nothing. Like there is only God, like in our eyes.
Yeah.
And so
it's so cool.
And Joy will tap into a little bit about the just different kind of faith. But yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you. Can you guys give this panel a hand? They did a great job. Wonderful job. You guys, we can transition. Okay, look at this guy coming up the stairs. This is cool. All right, welcome our next group. We got William and Kristen and Maddie and Austin all coming up. So glad you guys So this was like, we heard this in multiple worship services, right? It was so cool. Yeah, you got the mic. Okay, cool. Let's start. So we're not going to take all that exposition time we took last time. Let's jump right into it. What was something that you didn't expect to happen that happened? And I'm just going to go ahead and apologize here, first of all. We didn't get that picture in, did we? I'm so sorry about that. But the story is still going to be great, so let's hear it.
You talking about my picture?
Yeah, the one of the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
But it's okay. Go ahead.
All right, so one of the things I didn't expect was the whole restroom situation. I didn't realize how accustomed I got to the way America does things to over there. You have to pay for toilets, and you have no toilet seat. Very seldom will you get toilet paper. So this one church we went to, I had to go, so went in, no toilet paper. Tried hollering, screaming, nobody heard me. I don't know why. But there was another bathroom right next to it with a hole above the door. And I finally was able to get a hold of somebody saying, hey, could you help a brother out, spare or square? And so I hear a bag of baby wipes go into the other toilet. I was like, hey, wrong one.
Yeah.
That bathroom was locked from the inside. So a buddy of mine, Drew and Austin, they pushed Drew up through the hole in there so he could unlock the door and get what we needed to do. Yeah, it was an event for
and
sure.
I wish we had a picture of that because it was a door, and then the hole was actually like you would see it in like a school or something where they have a window above the door, but it's a real maybe 12-inch window,
yeah, it
24-inch
was not
window.
large.
It's not tall. No. And they put him through, and we have a picture. Was it Austin or
Austin
Drew?
is the one.
Who went in?
Yeah.
Drew. So it's a picture of his ankles hanging out of this window as he goes head first down into this bathroom to get the wipies.
Yeah. And I'm over in the other door just, help.
Yeah.
But
talk about, too, humbling experience.
Very
sitting
humbling.
in front of all your friends saying, can someone please give me wipies?
Yes, exactly. I never thought I'd be in that situation, but
hey,
there I was. But
yeah, that was unexpected.
Very unexpected. Very interesting.
That's hilarious. Austin, what was your perspective on that story? How did that go from your eyes?
I thought it went pretty well considering we didn't break Drew's neck dropping him through the window. Okay, I felt very good about that. And then once we got the door unlocked, I was like, okay, nobody else used that bathroom because we was all like, oh no, we broke something. No.
Yeah. And what about you, Austin? Is there anything that you thought of that was unexpected for you?
Definitely something that was unexpected was the food there. I did not expect it to be as good as it actually was. I was like, these guys are going to make an okay meal, and they made, the best food ever. I don't know, it's
Every
good.
meal was so good. And I think a big difference is just the fresh ingredients. We went to a market at one point, and there was just, stall after stall of fresh food. It was really cool. So, all right, let's see who else has something unexpected that they want to share. Kristen? Let's take Kristen, then we'll go to Maddie. Yeah.
So something I didn't expect is going off of Bailey's message. I did not expect the people to be how they were whenever we got there. I was expecting, hatred. I was expecting people to be cold, people to be angry that we didn't know their language. But we got there, and all these people are just running up to hug you and kiss you, and you're walking around like celebrities. Everyone is just yanking out their phone, trying to get a picture of the white people. One of the schools has a cat that they very proudly named Gringo. These people were so excited to see us. They were so happy to pull out a translator, have conversations that way. They wanted to hear us talk. They wanted to hear, just about our lives in America. You would expect these people to be cold. Looking at their houses, open roofs, they have dirt floors. And they are just so excited about everything that they do. They are so proud of Peru and everything that's in Peru.
Absolutely. It's pretty cool. And I can't help, and we can't really get into this, but I can't help but think, how would we react to people coming into our school, all of a different skin tone? I just don't think we would be as humble or welcoming as we experienced them being toward us, But let's go, Maddie. What do you have to share about unexpected?
So I did not expect to find a husband put up there. Yeah, that's Chippy. And on the last day, he introduced me as his wife to a few people, but it's fine. It was a great story. And Chippy was a really great man.
Well, you have to understand, too, Chippy doesn't speak much English. So she's just hanging out with Chippy and the gang, and she catches on to the context of a situation when he goes something like this toward her, and she hears a word that she's pretty sure translates to spouse, and it was very disarming, right? But it's hilarious.
It was in English.
Oh,
it was my wife in English.
I didn't hear that part. Wonderful. Yeah, did you read the handbook where it said no relationships with missionaries? No, I'm just kidding. It was great. Chippy is an amazing guy, and it was just funny that you, and not only him, but Janina as well, you struck up a bond with these guys. That's cool. Okay, so how did you guys see God move? Who wants to go?
I'll go. So I saw God move, and this is going to sound kind of weird because we were there to minister to those people, but I saw God move mostly in our team as a group. When we first got there, the anxiety, the stress, the worry, the uncomfortable situation that we were in, and as the week progressed, there was some tension, there was some patience that needed to be learned, my part, mostly, and but we grew together, learning to minister to these people, trying to overcome the language barrier, trying to overcome the different types of food we had to try, but growing together and being there with a purpose to serve under God's name was amazing, and it really humbled me. And I'm not there for me. I am not there for my group. I'm there for these people. I'm there under God's rule. I'm there to speak to these people about Jesus, and they ministered to me just as much as we ministered to them, and it was very humbling, and I really saw the Lord move a lot in that.
Yeah, I agree. In our team, we saw people just really where there was a lot of opportunity for attitude struggles. Lots of waiting around, lots of getting back to the hotel later than we wanted to. But man, our team really rose to the occasion, and that had to be God in the middle of us, helping us with that. Austin, did you have any experience? What did you? How did you see God move on the trip?
Well, I saw hold on. Okay, so something that put into perspective for me.
Pull it up a little bit. There you go.
Okay, thanks. So something that got put into perspective for me was everybody that goes to church there has to walk, or if they have a car, they have to wait in the car for so long to get to where they're going. And here in America, if I had to walk to church every day, we probably just wouldn't go, or we'd find some way else to go. But with them, they have so much faith that they need it, so they'll walk through anywhere to get to where they're going, just to get to church. And that's really awesome.
It is. And so many of the communities we visited were straight up mountainsides, So what is it, a football field walk would actually be closer to a mile for us, just because of the altitude and coming down a mountain. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah.
It was different.
Different and really beautiful too. Their determination to go to church and have a relationship with God. Yeah, Maddie, how did you see God move?
I think the biggest thing was how much they wanted to listen to what God was telling them. And I know, here, we always come up with, excuses of why we can't do what God is saying. But there, it almost seems yes, they have an option, but they don't have any other option than to fully, listen to what God's telling them and trust in Him. Because they're, our jobs that make a lot of money barely make anything there. And so for them, they have to put their full trust in that He's going to work and He's going to, provide and tell them what they need.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think these two are a great example of that. Just incredible listeners to us, to people, and then, of course, to God and His will for their life. And that's one of the things that I think I was really challenged by, is you and I both had experiences where we'd be talking to these folks. You could talk their ear off for an hour, and they're just still right there with you, present, listening, wanting to hear what you're saying. And when the language barrier was not, when we could break through that, there was just such great friendship and conversation there. Kristen, what about you?
So I walked into these schools and saw God move in all these children. God is definitely alive in Peru. But on Tuesday morning of our trip, we go to the McKay School. And we're going into these classrooms with group of 4. And my group was me, Annie, Silas, and Carolyn. Yeah. So we're all in there. They want to pray for us. We pray for them. We kind of talk to them a little bit. And then the group starts moving out, and I get just surrounded with all the children. And there's this one little boy with blue glasses who asks, "Are you coming back to our school?" And I said, "No, I don't believe so." He said, "Well, at the very least, please go to other schools, talk to other children, and let them have the impact of what you all have had on me, have that on them." And he prayed for me. He asked all of his classmates to pray for me. And he said that he sees so much love and so much joy. He wants other people to get to experience that. And I was in tears. I was sobbing. And he pulls me out of the classroom. And I actually got to talk to his teacher who was traveling along with us. And I got his contact information so I could keep up with him. Because when a kid like that just touches your heart, it's hard to let them go. So I've been in contact with him. But his teacher had told me a year ago or so, he was raised by his grandma because his parents weren't great. So his grandma raised him. Well, then she passed away due to COVID. And it was so traumatic on him that he developed a really bad stutter. But when he spoke to me, it was clear, and he was just joyful and happy to talk to me. She said that he had a hard time talking to any students or people whatsoever because he was so embarrassed of his stutter. So someone like that coming into your life, it was heartwarming.
Yeah, and I think one of the most important things to me from that story is you mentioned this when we talked about it in Peru, that you haven't really had somebody do what he did, just stop you and say, "I see kindness and love," and he just really spoke purpose over you. Little boy, blue glasses, who stutters because of family trauma in Peru. And what's remarkable about that to me is that that's something we should be doing more of, And it took that little boy to remind us of that in Peru. And so maybe that's a good first challenge for everybody today is if there's someone in your life that means something to you, that you see that something good in, don't just live your life without appreciating that. He knew you for 15 minutes, and that was time enough for him to say, "I see this trait in you, and I love that, and I just want to encourage you in that." And that's beautiful. We should all do that more. That's so cool. One final question, then we're going to transition. Did any of you throw the soap?
No.
Are you serious?
Yes,
Okay,
because listen. So hold on. So,
all right, hold on. Just so anything you say beyond this is going to make you look way more guilty.
okay.
Just letting you know. Okay.
It might make me look more guilty, but I know I'm right. So I was in my room when it happened, and
corroborating story.
So I heard Bailey scream, and I walked out, and I thought they were all laughing at first, and they walked out, and they was like, "Did you throw soap through our window?" And I was like, "No, I was in my room trying to sleep." And then I was like, I came out because I thought y'all guys were laughing or something, and then I get blamed for throwing soap through a window.
Oh no, I'm not blaming you. I just was. Is this the arm, Bailey? Is it just look like? No, just kidding. All right, you guys can head on. Thank y'all for sharing. Give them a hand. That was great. I love it. Love it. And cool outfit. That is so cool. The Peru gear. We got one more group, you guys, and this crew has a lot to share. I'm just so excited. Y'all come on in, find a seat. There's a mic on that chair. Whoever sits on that last chair, there's a mic down in the chair. You might want to, there you go. Yeah, y'all may have to squeeze a little bit. There's 5 of y'all. Sorry. Okay, this is great. Somebody on our team, when they heard that song, they were like, "I really want an enchilada." I'm like, I don't think that's what it's saying. Okay. Let's talk about these same questions. I guess I can introduce you guys first. This is Silas, Joy, Reese, Sophie, Wendy. Reese is here. Sophie, Wendy. There you go. That way you guys know who is who. And now the question, what did you not expect about Peru? Who's going to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I definitely had forgotten how big us Americans are. I was definitely a giant among men. I think every single grown man there, I had at least a foot on. Me, Caroline.
How tall are you?
I'm about 5'10".
Here, stand up. Stand up.
Yeah.
So me and her are close to the
Wendy
same.
thinks I'm 6'1", I think.
But I'm like average or a little below average in the States.
Yes, yeah.
So you don't feel
You're
very
way
tall
above
here.
average in Peru.
Yeah. But yeah, grown men. Go stand up one more time. Because Chippy, what was Chippy like? Right here?
Chippy was
Something
half
like
of me.
that? Yeah. Okay, anyway. It was crazy. Go ahead. Continue.
But yeah, no, Caroline, Carmen, and I, we're pretty tall here. There, we walked through a mall at one point. Just every single person was videoing us. It was minorly uncomfortable, but it's okay.
We got ready to play volleyball, and one of the school kids, we heard them say, Amazon. Because we had, like, again, 3 girls that were very tall.
They had the nets way too low too.
Yeah.
It was a massacre.
We got our butts beat one day.
It was and by that I mean they beat us.
Yeah.
They were way better than us.
Yeah. Now we did win the next day, but that
We
first
did win the
day,
next day.
we got our tails handed to us.
We were playing old people the next day, so.
Okay, yeah. Makes a difference. All right, Joy, what do you not expect?
So it was like, I don't know, it was probably like the 3rd or 4th night, so we all were delirious and tired, and me, Sophie, and Wendy were all sharing a room, and Wendy's going to talk about our living situation a little bit later, but our shower head had 3 like drops of water come out the whole time that we were there, so it was like you would wash like a square inch of your body at a time because there was no water coming out of it. So we were showing a group of the people that we were with, so it was 6 of us shoved in this bathroom that can really only fit 1 person semi-comfortably. So we were all shoved in there like shoulder to shoulder, could not move, and we're looking at the shower head, and all of a sudden we see like a cockroach about that big crawl down the glass, and it was like slow motion. We all saw it at the same time, but we couldn't move to get out, and so we all started screaming and like shoving, trying to get out of the bathroom, and it was crazy, and it was at like 11 o'clock, like p.m., and so we were scared. We woke everybody up, and then Wesley comes out of nowhere, our brave hero, and comes and like grabs it with his bare hand and disposes of the cockroach for us so that we could all sleep. It was very sweet. Thank you, Wesley.
That's awesome. All right, who else? Sophie, you want to go? What did you not expect about going to Peru?
Mine's more serious, but everybody was just so passionate about. They were so full of drive, and they took initiative over anything.
Isn't that a cool picture?
Yeah,
I love that
okay.
picture.
But anyways, they were just, if they were gonna do a task, they were gonna do it to the best of their ability, and just. They were so good at it. I don't know if that they were just passionate about everything.
Yeah, and that even proceeded like beyond the missionary team. Like the school kids.
Yeah.
If they came up to talk to you, they were going to do a good job in that conversation. They, you know what I mean? It was like.
And even with the language barrier, they wanted to have a conversation with you, and they tried. Like,
And how many times, I'm sure you did, but like conversations sometimes look like this.
Yeah.
Let them read the translation, and then they'd take your phone and they'd type away, and they'd hand it back, and it's like, that's not at all what I thought you were saying, It's like, what color is your dog? Like, I thought you were asking me about my hair. Okay, but it was really, really cool. This picture, super cool. Sophie rocked the bandana in Peru, and it was super cool. But this is just like one of the schools we visited. To the left over there is classrooms, 3 stories of classrooms, and then what we're standing in is like a courtyard where they played games and had, this was actually Flag Day, and so they were having a Flag Day parade, and that's why all these parents are sitting here. But yeah, it was a super cool experience. All right, who's next? What did you not expect?
Okay, well, I've got a couple. I was going to kind of tell my funny one.
Yeah, take your time.
First, kind of the same lines as Joy was talking about the bathroom. So like Sam and Zeke warned us that there may not be towels when you get there. You may have cold water. You may not have running water at all in your room, based, I guess, on an experience that you guys had years ago. And so I think we all came fully prepared. We were like, we knew that we may not have some of those amenities, and I was okay with that. I was like, that's just part of it. Well, we get to the room like late that night. I mean, in the morning, really early morning, and we had been traveling that whole day to Houston and then flew, and I wanted a shower. So I get in the shower, I turn it on, and there's like cold running water. We had a little bit, like 3 streams. It was like a water gun, like streams. And I was like, I don't care, I'm taking a shower. And so it took me like 45 minutes, but I got it done. And I had to. And so I didn't even get in bed till like 3 o'clock that morning, and we woke up at 6. So anyways, and so then like the next day we're talking to everybody about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. Like, and I was okay. You know, like I said, we were okay with that. We didn't have air conditioning also. And we were facing the road, and road noise like was insane. And we were, I mean, again, I'm not complaining. We knew it might happen. But next day we start talking to everyone else, and they're like, no, we have air conditioning. We have hot water. We have a running shower. And we're like, it was me, Sophie, and Joy. And we were like, oh my gosh. So we got the short end of the stick. Next night I think like Carmen and Maddie's room, they let me use their showers. That was nice. We just like were bouncing around. Finally, Zeke asked like the third day for us, and we got it working.
Yeah, day 3 or so. But
But I wasn't going to complain.
Yeah, it was good. I appreciate you guys dealing with that. That hotel's like in the middle of renovation, so some of them had hot water.
It was actually
air
nice. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
So, and then I'll be quick. The next one, though, I didn't, we had an experience where we went to an orphanage for children who were HIV positive. And whenever we were first told that, I'm not going to lie, it was a little unnerving. Like, just naturally, that was my first reaction. I don't know about anybody else. I don't think we really talked about it. But I quickly, like, just kind of squashed that, and I prayed about it, and I had a peace about that, and I was like, if Jesus was here, he would go there. He's going there with us. So, anyways, we go, and I feel like everybody was pretty open-minded, and it was not what I expected. It was really cool. The kids were, like, I think I expected to see, like, sickly kids, and they were not. They were so lively. They performed for us. They did, like, these really cool dances, and I was really proud, I have to say, like, parents of the students, because they did not skip a beat. They treated those kids exactly like every other kid we encountered at the other schools we went to. They played games with them. It was a lot of fun.
You just cried.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm about to cry talking about it. But you guys they were awesome, every one of them. And I was just really proud of our team that day. So.
Yeah, it was really difficult. These are kids that, when their parents find out that their kid has AIDS, lots of times just stop caring for them. And there's other orphanages around town that won't take them because if a kid has AIDS, they don't want them staying in their orphanage. But this guy has made it his life mission to take in those reject kids and give them a home. And one person asked him, are any of these your children? And he's like, yeah, my wife and I have had 3 kids, but all of these are my children. This is my family. And it was moving. It was very beautiful. All right, well, let's transition there and talk about how did you see God move? Well, and I guess, Joy, this one that you have is kind of both. So why don't you share what you're going to share?
So one of the nights we were at, and Sophie's going to mention her, but we were at Mama Raquel's house, which is Alex and George's mom. So they invited us over and cooked us dinner, and it was it was a moving moment because they were just like serving us so well. But anyway, I was talking to George, which was one of the leaders on our trip, and he had heard me in a classroom earlier that day because we were sharing our testimonies, talk about how I struggle with mental health. And if any of you have ever heard me talk here, I talk about it too much. But just like struggles with that and anxiety and depression throughout my life and all that stuff. Well, at dinner, George was asking me about it. And we were just talking because he just wanted to know more about me and I wanted to know more about him. And he had said, I had asked, is mental health and struggling with that, big in Peru? Because it's huge in the U.S., so do people struggle with it here? And he said, no, the people here are too busy trying to stay alive that they don't have time to think about being anxious or depressed or anything like that. They have such physical poverty that they don't have the space to fill extra time to be just sitting around thinking about that. And he was like, but I see in the States that mental health is such a big problem. And he's like, we have physical poverty and you have mental poverty. And there's not as much there is physical poverty in the US, but it's not nearly as much as what we saw in Peru. He's like, you guys struggle with mental and spiritual poverty. And that kind of hit me like a ton of bricks because I'm like, even in this thing that I've struggled with for so long, his goodness and his blessing is still all over it because I just get to have the time to worry about those things. And I'm not struggling to stay alive. So I have all this extra time to just worry about myself and how much people like me or don't like me. Like, and there's so much like of his blessing over that. And I don't know, it was just kind of mind-blowing to me.
Yeah,
But,
this is
yeah.
one of the communities we ministered in at a church, and you could see like these are all houses. These aren't abandoned. Like in the States, you'd go, oh, it's like an abandoned countryside. These are houses people are living in right now, even this morning, still living in. And this picture too. This is us carrying bags of groceries up into one of these neighborhoods here, where people are living. And as you can see again on that mountainside, there is a lot of poverty, Sophie, do you want to just share a little bit about Mama Raquel? Mama Raquel is the one here in the middle in the red blouse, and she's real short, really sweet lady. So tell us a little bit about her.
Yeah. So she was just the most hospitable person ever. Now, I mean, in the South, everybody like Southern hospitality, but they really want to serve you everywhere you go. So we went to her house twice, and she gave us meals. And I'm very picky, and I did not enjoy a lot of the food there, but it was very good. The one from Mama Raquel.
Yeah.
So
She didn't just get a box of State Fair corn dogs and put them in the oven.
It was,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was definitely
Fresh.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
But anyways, she was just so kind, and she helped Joy a lot one of the days. So
You want to share a little bit too, Joy, about Mama Raquel, or you have anything else to say about her?
I had gotten really sick on Thursday when we were there, and it was like this whole thing. And whenever I got to her house, she, one of the people that I was with, that I think it was Diego was with us, he had told her what had happened, and she immediately sat me down, cared for me, asked if I needed anything, asked if I needed a bottle of water or need to go to the bathroom. Like, she was just very oh, okay, she's sick, of course I'm gonna help. So yeah, her and Mama Luna were wonderful women. I love them.
Awesome. Yeah. Very, very cool. Okay, Silas, you got a story of how you saw God move. So tell us a little bit about it. And here's the first picture, if I can find it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so on one of the days we went to Alex, who was the pastor there. We went to one of his missionary houses, and we were praying over it. And it was like a 3 or 4 story building that they were building. And so the top story, you could kind of look out over everything. And me and Luke were up there, and we saw Diego washing this truck up there. And so we were like, hey, we should go help Diego wash this missionary truck that they have. And they filled up with groceries, and they do all kinds of stuff with that truck. And all the roads there are all dirt, and so this thing gets filthy. And so we were like, yeah, let's go help him. And so we're helping Diego wash this truck. And keep in mind, Diego can't speak really a lick of English, and so we're all just kind of laughing, having fun. And we get done, and all of our shoes are covered in mud and dirt. And Diego, he comes up to me, or I'm washing the bottom of my shoes because they're covered in mud. And Diego comes up and gets on his hands and knees and starts scrubbing the bottom of my shoes for me. And just in that moment, it made me think of Jesus and his disciples, washing their feet. And Diego just dropped everything he was doing to come help me clean the bottom of my shoes, even though his shoes were still dirty. And he didn't expect anything in return.
Sure.
And so it was just super cool. And I helped him clean his, and he was super thankful of that. And that was super cool.
Well, yeah, he wasn't even worrying about his shoes. But then he saw you worry about yours, and he's like, if he's worried about that, I want to help. Yeah. And I asked Silas this, too. I was like, has anybody ever done that for you in the United States?
Yeah.
Ever, And it was more of just a joking question, but there really is a humility there in Diego, but in the missionaries too, and the pastors of those churches we went to, just they give so freely without even thinking about it. It's so cool. Yeah, cool story, and I agree. It was a very poignant moment of the week. Wendy, you had a story about how you saw God move, or maybe kind of moved in your spirit a little bit. Tell us about that day.
It was a day we were delivering groceries, and as being one of the adult, I guess you could say, leaders there, I was kind of trying to hang back and let all the students, deliver the groceries, because we were handing them off to families, and they were given the opportunity to pray over these single mothers, and it was so moving to watch them do that. It was awesome. And at one point, I pulled Zeke to the side and I was like, "Hey, if if everyone else has gotten a chance to do it, has done it, can I do that? I would love to pray over somebody and be there for that moment." And anyways, we ended up climbing that insanely uphill, straight uphill to. It was to the home of that single father, but there was a lady from the church who was caring for his son during the day so he could work. And his daughter was at school. I guess they would pick her up and drop her off for him too. I thought that was really awesome for them to do that, to take time out of their entire day to care for his children so he could work. Anyways, we go up to take the groceries up there, and they show us around their little house, and it's dirt floors. And I had kind of, when we walked in where we were standing, I could see behind a curtain where there was a bed, and it was in bad shape. It didn't have sheets. I'm just being honest, it looked dirty and everything, and it was very humble. It was kind of like a shack. I'm just being honest. And it was pulling on my heart, and anyways, I was given the opportunity to pray over him. Of course, I'm going to be the only one that cries. Oh, my gosh.
That's good. That's good.
I got to pray over him and his home, and that was probably one of my favorite moments.
Sure. Well, you're a mother, and
Yeah.
you've got kids, and so seeing these kids here without their dad, he's at work.
Yeah.
Church ladies leading us in. We're giving groceries to this family. It was extremely moving. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And I will say, though, too, even though it was very humble up there, it was amazing. I'm sure everybody else will agree to see God's creation. It was just a view. Everybody knows that the view that you could see from up there was incredible, and it was a really cool moment. And then he played piano, and I didn't get it on video. I tried to, but Zeke kind of played a little bit for him.
Well, so you didn't say anything about the kid yet.
Well, I was praying over him. I prayed.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways,
he was the single father's son. He was there, and when we come in, the church lady starts telling us he can play piano.
Yes.
So
he had a little, kind of like that. What do you call that?
Keyboard.
Keyboard.
But we kind of pressured him into it. So he played us a little tune. We might need volume on this. I don't know. It was just such a sweet moment. Again, he's showing off his home. He's showing us where he lives, and it was humbling for us. But it was a beautiful moment where we just sensed God in the room with us. Reese, tell us a little bit too, because you had a moment like that. It was a different circumstance, but tell us about your moment where you really.
There were definitely a lot of moments where you could just feel God there, and it was really just because of how welcoming the people were, and everyone's kind of touched on that, but definitely where I felt God move was that first night when we were at that church service. It was a night church service, which was really out of the blue, but we were doing worship, and there was this one song, I think it was Yeshua. Is that what?
Yeshua.
I definitely said that super Western.
No, that's okay.
But there was just a point in it, and I know a lot of worship songs do that, where it's just one word kind of elongated. And so obviously, all the Americans could catch on. And so we were being in a room with your brothers and sisters in Christ and singing that together, you could just feel it so strongly. And it was just so affirming that this is our God. Not just our God here, but our God all over. And I felt the church of God in that room. And I think everyone did. It was hard not to.
Yeah. That's a song where literally the word kind of transcends all languages, because it's the same word in every language, Yeshua. Mm-hmm. We're all singing Yeshua. But then it's the story of God is our Father. That story transcends all languages too. He's my Father here. He's their Father in Peru. He's their Father in France, Rome, wherever you're at in the world. God is our Father. And so, I'm with you. It was really a transcendent moment. hearing all these voices, Peruvian, English, you know.
Yeah. It was so hype. Every time Zeke would like get up to speak, George would translate, and Zeke's like, "Our brothers, our sisters," and it was so cool. I don't know if anyone's watched Avatar, but it was awesome.
Okay, yeah. I feel you. Well, yeah, George. Did you guys see that announcement video with George on it? He's a very high energy person. So he and I kind of feed off each other a little bit. Yeah, super cool. Well, thank you guys for sharing, and what an amazing experience we had. Can y'all give them one hand as they wrap up here? It was a really, really cool experience. Now, this was us playing worship, but it wasn't actually us that played that song. It was their worship team, which is almost an even cooler experience that we were able to participate in their way of worship and the way that they do things. As I wrap up here, and we're gonna finish the service this way, and have a little prayer time, and then we'll dismiss you guys, maybe even a hair early here. But what I want to bring to mind is there are parallels to what we experienced in Peru to what I read about in the book of Acts. And the book of Acts is what happens right after Jesus ascends back to heaven. Actually, it opens with Jesus getting ready to ascend, and he gives these last instructions to his followers. And then it goes to a section where Peter preaches a message, and Pentecost happens, and literally thousands of people are saved all in one day. And then it tells us about the actions of the early church. How did they live? What did they do day in and day out right after this massive revival kicks the church off? And I was reminded of our experience in Peru. These missionaries we worked with, their lives have been radically changed by Jesus. And the way that they're living their lives now is just to the best of their ability, walking with him like the apostles did and sharing the gospel just like the apostles did. From that place of being radically changed, they were called to be pastors. They were called to turn around and preach the gospel. And that looks different than it does here, because for them that are called to be pastors there in Peru, it literally is a traveling around and praying for people, visiting churches, starting churches. It's not just that they're a pastor in one place. They move around and they try to do what God is asking them to do everywhere that they are. They pray for people. They've seen people healed, a lot like the early church. So some things that we hit on this morning that I think are really stand out to me, and I think that we can learn from are this, and they're in your notes if you want to write these down. The first one is we really saw this a lot in Peru. I think we can learn that here in the States, we have a need to become better listeners to each other. We have a need to become better listeners to each other. Because I mentioned a personal anecdote of having conversations with some of the missionaries. But to feel like someone is that interested in you, they want to know details about your life, even though they don't have much of a reference point. You just feel so much love from that interest. And if there's one thing I could think that we could take a step forward in our ministry, is if we would become better listeners, the people that we're trying to minister to here in Mena, they would feel the love of God from our interest in their life. If we would just listen, ask questions, and get into their life and listen to them. Because I know that the listening posture of those missionaries touched each one of us in a special way. Another thing I saw there that I think we can learn from is becoming more free with our time to give both each other and to give to lost people. Their schedule wasn't dictated in any way by selfishness. Now, I know we were only there for a week, but the only time a missionary stepped away because he had to go do something was his son's birthday. And he had two sons' birthday that week, but he chose to go and be with his family on one day because he wanted to be with us the rest of the time. They are unafraid to kind of put their own desires on hold to give their time to other people. Now, I'm not saying we need to do that above our families by any stretch, but I think if we looked honestly at our schedules, a lot of time here, our schedules are dictated by what I want to do or by what I think I deserve to do. Because, I work 40 hours a week, so the free time I have is that's mine. But here in Peru, we saw a freer hand with that, a willingness to just kind of release it and see how God would use it. That's radical, y'all. And we see that in the book of Acts. We do. And then the last one, just becoming more patient with each other, having an understanding for each other as humans. And we saw that there as well. It goes back to some of that same timetable stuff, just being in the slow lane. But honestly, here, lots of times, and I think it could be influenced by news and the justice system and everything, but it's like we're kind of waiting on each other to fail or to mess up, or we don't have a lot of patience for each other. And in Peru, we really experienced that. It was a patience lesson for all of us that was on the team, and it was good. It was good for us. Scripturally, I'm drawn to that Acts 2 passage right after the big sermon where all the people are saved. There's a moment where Luke begins to tell us kind of what life was like in those early days of the church. And I just want to read this because I think this is interesting in terms of how they live in Peru and something that we can learn from as disciples of Jesus. So check this out. A deep sense of awe came over all of the disciples, all of the people that were there in the upper room. And the apostles performed many miraculous signs and wonders. And then in verse 44, check this out. All the believers, they met together in one place, and they shared everything that they had. They sold their property and possessions and shared their money with those in needs. I don't think this is talking about communism as much as it is about generosity for us. And then in verse 46, they worshiped together at the temple each day. That comma means and. And they met in homes for the Lord's Supper. Another and they shared meals with great joy and generosity. This is what we experienced in Peru, you guys. Worshiping in the temple together and going to people's homes and sharing meals with great joy and generosity. And all the while they were praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. And each day, get this, each day the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. Each day. Going back to verse 46, they worshiped together at the temple each day. They met in homes for the Lord's Supper, shared their meals with joy and generosity, and each day the Lord added to their fellowship. What can we learn here from the way that they lived their life? They, just like the disciples, they share their money, they share their meals, their scripture, everything together. The church is a movement there. It's not a once-a-week activity. And through that, they enjoy each other, and they enjoy God's presence each day. So what I'm trying to learn from this experience is to make room in my life for my fellow believers, brothers and sisters, but also to minister to lost people, to be able to just stop what I'm doing and have a conversation with someone because I'm interested in them and because I want them to know Jesus. I'm trying to learn to do that like we experience these disciples doing in Peru. Make room in my life for more meals with fellow believers and lost people, to make room in my life for a Bible study with fellow believers, to make room in my life for a worship night at a friend's house, right? To make quality time in my life for my companions in this race with me. We at the Crossing need this. We need that. And visiting a team of people in Peru who just do it so well was challenging, and it was good because it shows me that it's real. And the way Jesus moves here in Acts, he's still doing. And he wants to do it in us. I'm going to ask us to just read this, and then we're just going to have a quiet moment of prayer, and then we'll be dismissed. What time or room in your life is there for meals, Bible studies, worship nights, and quality time with other believers? As I'm talking this morning, do you get the sense of, oh, I'm good, I do a lot of that? Or do you feel that conviction of, man, I don't really make room for this? My experience is such love, such purpose is to be gained from making time, just like the early disciples did, for each other and for the worship of God together. Not just on Sunday, but each day as the church. What that looks like for you, maybe it's joining a circle. Maybe it's actually trying to make it to a circle that you've been invited to, you just kind of haven't had time for. Make a little time, a little room in your life for quality time with other believers. This morning, would you just close your eyes and want to give you just a moment to talk to the Holy Spirit? Ask yourself that question. Do I have time or room for quality time with other believers? And then maybe just answer that and ask yourself why. Why not? Why do I not have time? Or what can I do to make time? Holy Spirit, as we just quiet ourselves in your presence for a moment, we ask that you would just pull out the truth here, minister to our hearts, and challenge us, and then let us get up out of our seats ready to do what you've asked us to do. Let's just spend about a minute here in silence as we listen to the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, we accept your challenge. We accept what you're doing in our hearts. You've spoken truth to us. And I just ask again, Lord, that you would just solidify that in our heart as we walk from this place. Let us make an action to go along with what you've kind of spoken to us this morning. We love you. We thank you, Jesus, for this moment this morning together. And it's in your name that we go and we lift up your name. And God, we just want to live for you as we go out this week. Thank you, Jesus. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. You guys can go. You're dismissed. Thanks for being here. Go in peace. And as the Lord challenges you, make time this week for somebody in your life. All right? Thank you all for being here this Sunday morning, and God bless.